Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee Live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie.
The campus recruitment coordinator for the Cole business unit of Tech, which out of all the different business units right now, Cole has had the largest program. So when I talk about 200 roles hired across the business, about 160 of them are within the Cole business unit. So just to give you an idea, and some of those are scattered within our Calgary office, and then the bulk are going to be at our operational level. For myself personally, I've been doing this a long time. So I have been working with Tech for 14 years now. And the bulk of that time, I have been supporting campus, in addition to supporting new graduate hires, staff positions, and then I also started off in the hourly space as well, so hiring haul truck drivers and tradespeople. So I've really had a chance and an opportunity to really see all aspects of the business and the different recruitment needs. So I guess what would that equate to? After 15 years of recruitment here, definitely thousands and thousands of interviews. I should have written things down so I could put a book together because, boy, I've had some funny stories over the years and lots of interesting comments. But that's what I love about my job. It makes it fun. And for me, campus is a real soft spot. I love supporting people on those first steps of their career and really setting them up and supporting them through the interview process. And that's a big part of how our team really approaches interviews from a campus perspective, is really making sure people feel comfortable, supporting them to put their best foot forward so that they can feel like they can make that next step in their career. So it's a little bit of a 2-cent tour of what I'm all about.
Perfect. So the chat's filling up with questions, which are great,
Yeah.
and I see a general theme here, and it's really about what type of jobs do we have, and so specifically there's some questions about computer or software type of roles, both undergraduate and graduate or new grads, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. And we talk a little bit at the beginning about this technology transformation that Tech is going through, and that has really shone through in our co-op openings. We probably hire more computer engineers and computer sciences than we hire mining engineers, which to some people as a mining company is shocking. But it's true, and it's because they're supporting so many different disciplines within the business. And like you say, we're pushing these technology projects through, so we need that support. And so you'll see a lot, whether it's on the co-op side or on the new graduate side of things, we're seeing a lot of those opportunities. The one thing I guess I often warn people about those, because to say if you're in computer engineering, for example, you might be expecting to see computer engineering, new graduate role or something like that. The interesting part about how the business is here is that we do this for fun, or I'm not sure why, but some of our positions have different names and unique like titles on them. So I guess you might want to do a little bit of homework on the website, even leading up to graduation or leading up to a work term, and just really looking, like some of them will be called data scientists, some of them will be called it could be like a value delivery technology new graduate or something like that. There's a few different names that, like data scientist is a fairly straightforward, but tech, like maybe something like a value delivery, you might not think, hey, they're looking for a computer engineer. So you can really just do a bit of a dive into the postings. There are a ton, so it is a bit of work. We've been recruiting like crazy. We have over 160 openings from the full-time perspective, in addition to the co-ops that we're going to be hiring for the upcoming September term. So just be mindful of that. The one thing that you can do to hopefully highlight some of those roles that might be a little bit of a unique title is that you can set yourself up for job alerts on our website. So if you go to tech.com/careers and then set yourself up for job alerts for like say computer engineering or computer science, and then you'll get notified when a posting comes up that is highlighting that skill set within the posting. So that's something to think about. But yeah, certainly lots and lots of opportunities, whether it's at the operational level or at our race team in Vancouver for technology and computer engineers.
There's a lot of questions about summer recruitment versus fall. Maybe can you talk a little bit about the recruitment timeline?
Sure. Yeah. So we recruit students every 4 months. So every academic term, we're recruiting students to come to Tech. So right now, we've just put our postings up. So we usually recruit 4 months in advance. So we're just now starting the recruitment for September. So yeah, you'll see postings come up for us in January to February. That's going to be for the May start. And then in May, we're recruiting for September, and then September for January. So basically 4 months in advance, you'll start to see our postings. And as soon as the academic term starts, basically we put our postings up for the following term to start. The bulk of our opportunities are going to be 8 months or 12 months. We can go up to 16 months for some of our opportunities. So certainly we have lengthier terms. We don't have a whole lot of 4 month opportunities, with the exception of summer. So we do have summer postings across our business, especially I know at the coal business unit and our trail business unit, or zinc business unit, they have summer student opportunities. So those, I guess, would be posted in January, start for May, just for the 4 month summer. So for those of you who may not be in a scheduled co-op program or going through a traditional program in engineering, say, those might be the opportunities to look out for, and that'll be in January. You'll see those postings come up.
All right. So there's some questions about full-time opportunities this summer.
Yes. Okay. So then, if someone's graduating this summer, I would imagine by August. So there's a lot of ongoing postings that are happening, and some of them might even say new graduate. They might say new graduate to intermediate. So again, just be mindful that they may be looking at a couple different options, or maybe sometimes we'll lump several opportunities within one posting. But yeah, if you're graduating, say in August, for example, I would start applying for jobs here in short order. I would say pretty quick, with over the next month, start applying. We usually anticipate about a month and a half for the whole recruitment process to start from start to finish. So certainly I would be looking now and starting to put my name in the hat if I were anticipating graduating in August. We don't have like set times of the year that we graduate, like all the new grads are coming in at this time of year. It's kind of an ongoing as needed basis, and where we can shuffle people and move people in different areas, then we can add another new graduate in, kind of thing. So it's pretty ongoing.
All right, a lot of questions coming in here. Some specific question with disciplines. So industrial engineering, there was electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. I don't know, you want to talk about those types of opportunities?
Sure. Yeah. And I sort of joked at the beginning, we have an opportunity for everyone, but it literally is true. We've hired every engineering discipline I can even think of. So industrial engineering, I haven't seen as many opportunities, but I certainly have seen quite a few. And I know that there's a couple different areas that you guys touch on in the industrial space. And those are, you could look at like a mechanical post that might be able to be available for an industrial engineer or electrical. So certainly there's a little bit of flexibility around your discipline, and it might depend on the experience you've had thus far. So that one is not, you won't often see industrial engineering co-op or industrial engineering new grad, but you can look in there, and if you think it's relevant to you, then certainly put your application in. And yeah, electrical, we hire lots of, you can imagine, we have a lot of electrical components within our maintenance space. And so we do hire electrical engineers there, as well as in our processing plants as well. What was the other discipline? Sorry, Masaki, I'm trying to keep track here, but.
Yeah, it was industrial, mechanical, electrical,
yep.
And there's also environmental.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and those are two. So if I were going to pick the 3 top disciplines over the past few semesters that we've hired in, you've just covered them. So we're looking at enviro, computer science, and then mechanical, truthfully. Again, we do hire lots of mining engineers as well, but those 3 have really, because they tend to work in a few different spaces within the mine. So like a mechanical engineer, and we'll hear from a student here today that can talk a little bit about her experience, but we can hire them in the mobile maintenance. We can hire them in the processing plants. We could use them in our water treatment facilities. So there's lots of different spaces where mechanical is hired. So our numbers tend to be quite large. And same with enviro. We have some huge operations here, and there's a lot of work being done around our sustainability and our just making sure that we're leaving the environment as good as it was when we arrived. And so there's lots of work there, and we do hire a lot of students to support that process.
Great. And so fun facts. So last year we hired over 230 co-op students, and almost half were computer, mech, and environment related. So large numbers in the area. Undergrad versus masters and co-op. Any advice for master's students?
Yeah, we hire both. So the big thing is just long as you're available for the longer term and you can take some time out of your program, depending how your program is set up. But certainly, yeah, masters, there's definitely a home for master's students here at Tech, and we hire quite a few of them.
Ankit has a question about how to apply for co-op positions.
Great question. Yeah, I know some schools really market like maybe pushing people towards their specific school websites. We do target those as well, but there may be schools out there that we just don't have really close relationships with, or we may not just know what disciplines they have depending on the school. So we have several schools we do work quite closely with, but that being said, we always post them on the Tech website. So you can always just go straight through there and look independently for the job yourself. So that's tech.com/careers, or you could go to the student landing page, which is tech.com/students. And that'll give you a quick snapshot of all the student opportunities that are there, and then give you some other details about our student programs.
Naveed's wondering about Tech co-op pay rate. It's always one that people are curious about.
We're quite open actually about our pay, which is funny. Like it's fun that people ask, and it is. It's a legit question. That being said, I'm going to be like the company politician and not tell you exactly, but and the only reason being, so how we pay our students is actually based on how many academic terms you've completed and how many co-ops you've completed. So we have a bit of a range based on the student's experience. So it tends to be a little bit individual that way, but basically if you have 6 academic terms, you're in an engineering discipline, and there's a few different areas, like if you're a business student versus an engineering student, but we are quite competitive in terms of our salaries, and the recruiters are quite open about it. So if you go through the interview process, basically I tell people in the first few minutes what you'd likely be paid, or by the end of the interview I'll be like, okay, so based on your academic experience and your co-op experience, this is your salary that you would be coming on board with, and straight up. So it's anywhere from, to give you a bit of a ballpark, I would say anywhere from 4,500 a month up to 5,500 a month, depending on experience level and discipline.
Great.
Sorry to add to that, Masaki, I just forgot one part of that. But in addition, it's not just about the pay, right? We've got to look at full comp. And I guess for a new graduate person, you just want, that's something that I talk a lot about when I hire for staff positions, is really looking at that full compensation package. Tech has quite a generous one. And for co-op students, we do offer a little extra benefits in addition to the salary. We also pay for your co-op fees while you work for us. So every semester up to $700. We also pay for your trip here at the beginning of your term, and then home again to where you go to school, or your home at the end of your term as well. So the biggest cost you're going to incur here is going to be your living costs. We don't have student housing, unfortunately, but certainly we support you through that. So basically, when someone's come in, say to the Valley, for example, to the Elk Valley area where we are, we would get them in touch with other co-ops that are coming on board, and then we also pass along information about the local rental market and just any property managers and different things like that, just to make sure that everyone has the information and all the tools they need to be able to find a place. And then I always tell people, if you're at the end and you're struggling and it's getting close to your start, reach out to me and we will do a full court press, if you will, and make sure we find you a home. So we do support our students through all that.
Well, since speaking of students, we've got a couple students on the line here. Do you want to maybe have one of them talk a bit about their experience, and then we can come back to some more questions?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we have 2 students on the line that have been here for quite some time. I keep extending them, which is awesome. And that's just because obviously they've been providing some amazing support to the business. So there's 2. Maybe we'll do quick 2 intros, and then if anyone has any questions specifically for both of them, there's Emma and Jaziel. And then, but if they could maybe do, Emma, do you want to start and do a quick intro of yourself, what you do here, and maybe like highlights of your job?
Absolutely, for sure. So my name's Emma. I've completed 3 years at Queen's University in Kingston. I started at Teck this past September. So my background is mechanical engineering. So some of you have been asking about that. That is a possibility here to work within your field. And I am supporting the maintenance team at a water treatment facility at our Line Creek site. So that is one of the steel-making coal mines up in the Elk Valley, and it's part of the water quality management, which has now transitioned into a sustainable development group. I live in Fernie, so it's about a 20 to 30 minute drive from Sparwood. and then I drive to site from there every morning. So I love working on site. It's a great experience to be practicing hands-on engineering. This was my first co-op. So it was a big transition going from academics and school into a maintenance team and working with a maintenance department. But you work with operations and process, and it's by far been the most incredible experience, work experience I've had. I love living in the Elk Valley. If you're interested in skiing or hiking or mountain biking, camping, whatever that may be, there's so many different options for getting outside and outdoors. And as I mentioned, the practical experience is something I think that Teck offers you and gives you a lot of experience and responsibility within your role. And there's always someone there to support you. So you always report to your direct supervisor. And then you have a team of other people within your group to support you. So you're given a level of responsibility with support, and you can always reach out for support, which I've really valued because that is my first practical on-site experience. So it's been a great learning curve, and honestly, every day within maintenance, I'm learning something different. So it's never the same thing in and out, day in out, which I love because it brings in new opportunities to grow and challenge myself. But if you have any questions, I'll pass it on to Jaziel to do a little bit of a intro for her role, and then we can follow up with anything you may have in mind.
Awesome. Thanks, Emma.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. So I'm Jaziel Austin, and I'm a mining engineering student at Dalhousie in my 4th year. So I have 1 more year left. And right now I'm a mining engineering co-op student on the water integrated planning team. So similar area as Emma. And one of the highlights for me being here on the team is I learned learning a lot and being exposed to something outside of school, so less theory wise and more how you actually do the things we're learning. I really, really appreciated that, and being able to be given a lot of responsibilities to push you to get to, make that difference and learn hands-on. A highlight in Sparwood or in the valley would be just how beautiful it is, because I'm not very outdoorsy yet, at least, but I'm still able to really appreciate it. I was worried about moving from Nova Scotia and being inland this much, but the mountains make up for it, I always say. So I definitely appreciate it. And some of the main things I've been working on the planning team is doing a lot of work with planning out the technology that we use to treat water at the mine sites. So all of the mine sites in the Elk Valley, and making sure, because we need to do that to make sure that we're in environmental compliance to be able to mine. And this involves a lot of costing, lots of picking your brain, staring at some sheets, some project details, seeing what's not clicking, seeing how it can click. So very problem solving, but very rewarding when it finally works. And we do this to be able to plan out the different projects and see what projects are actually applicable and how much that would actually cost Teck. So that's the gist of what I've been doing a lot.
Awesome. Thanks, Jaziel. Yeah, and just to give you guys an understanding, I mean, obviously 2 students here today. They're in the water quality group, and the water group does hire a ton of students. And again, I talked a little bit about that sustainability aspect of the business and why at the end of the day, we all feel good about working for a company like Teck is because of the initiatives that these guys get to work on. But yeah, like for water projects alone, gosh, we've spent over $1 billion in water treatment and water projects across the business. I know it's higher than $1 billion, but that's the kind of investment that the company's made to make sure we're doing things right and doing things the way that things should be done, and making sure that we're protecting the communities around us.
And developing new technologies, not just for us, but potentially for other companies as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Julianne has a question about tips on increasing your chances of getting hired as a co-op student.
I tell you all the secrets. No, it's good. There's no secret, truthfully. No, it's I always tell people there's a couple of things, and this is gonna, I guess, come across fairly general, but it's hard to get into the weeds with it, if you will. But a couple of things: never leave information off your resume in terms of experience you've had. So I don't care if you've worked at McDonald's or you've worked, there's a variety of experience, and it's how you present it to someone like me and really pull out the details and the learnings that you've had from these previous experiences and make it relevant to the job that you're potentially looking to get. So you can pull that experience. Like I like for people who have worked in like really versatile environments where they've had to work in fast pace, where they've maybe had to take responsibility for things. So it could be anything from working in a camp to working in customer service. You can always see value in a lot of different experiences. So I always tell people, make sure you include all that. Don't think, oh, it's not relevant to engineering, say, for example. I'm not going to put that on there. All experience. I would rather see someone who had some experience than none at all. So certainly don't leave those things out. Otherwise, highlighting some of the things, like, I guess, imagine that you're putting in a resume. Well, it's going to be someone like me, who I'm not an engineer, but I work really close with the teams and I support them, and I'm not going to be able to jazz you with my technical knowledge. So make it so that it's really clear, really concise, and clearly explain what you did and how that makes you a valuable employee. So say if you did a project and you think, hey, this is super relevant to this mechanical engineering position that I'm applying for, and I worked on this project that, reliability maintenance or whatever it was based around. Highlight that, and then showcase that particular project and how you made impact or how you participate in that project, and maybe it shows leadership skills, maybe it shows technical knowledge, but those are things that I would look for in a resume to be like, okay, yeah, I can see this. I can see how this person's passionate about this particular space, say, for example. And then your cover letter. I mean, I know I don't spend a ton of time on cover letters. I will admit that, but I do take a quick glance and I do take a quick look and go, okay, why is this person interested in working at Teck? So highlighting things like you've met some people at the Canadian mining conferences, or maybe you attended a campus coffee, or just highlighting how you know Teck, why you're interested in working for this job. And it just gives us a little bit of context, like, oh, is this a good fit? Or maybe you're like, I'm a hardcore skier and I cannot wait to get to the Elk Valley, say, for example. Those are great information to know. And sometimes people don't think they should put those things on resumes, but I also look at that going, hey, this person actually would be a really cool fit for this area long term, because they're really interested in the lifestyle choice that they could have here in terms of outdoor. So those are just some quick tips on things that you should think about including. And like I say, the biggest thing for me is making it really easy to follow, clear, concise. You don't have to get really deep into the weeds. That's what the interview is for, to be able to explain to me a little bit more in depth, but certainly making sure that those little tidbits are in your resume is always useful.
Mohan has a question about what specific skills are we looking for in mechanical engineers?
All right. Well, Emma, I'll get you to jump in on this one too. But I would say off the top of my head, you're going to be working on site with tradespeople. So ability to work with multiple different disciplines, different levels, working with a tradesperson and explain things non-technically, and then turn around and explain technically to your engineering team, say, for example. That's so communication and that ability to sort of be diverse and flexible certainly helps. Emma, maybe you want to add some detail to that?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the biggest thing for me was I'd never worked with anybody directly in contact with in the trade. So that could be an electrician, a millwright, a plumber, for example, so many others. But having that ability to openly communicate with your coworkers and work alongside people, and even though you may not have the technical experience to have a full-on engineering conversation with someone in the trades, asking them honestly to give you their perspective on a project, or see how a piece of equipment works in their mind, helps you better understand too that piece of equipment. So whether it's a pump or a compressor, for example, getting more details into how each of these pieces of equipment works helps you then perform better in your maintenance tasks and what you have to work as with a group. I would say communication is key. And then honestly, just being open to learn, because I think as a co-op, you come in with maybe you've had a previous co-op experience, or you have a number of courses which are applicable to a task that you're working on. But having an open mind and listening to your coworkers and their experience and talking to people really helps. Yeah, so communication, good teamwork skills, and then being open to learn, I'd say.
Yeah, No, that's great. That's a great point. I always tell people a lot of times it is what you make of it, and you come in with the right attitude and that willingness to be open and learn. Like it's generally a new industry for a lot of people that we hire, especially outside that mining group. You know, a lot of people are like, I've never even dreamed of working in a mine site. Okay, like so it is. It's coming in with that potential to like, I want to learn as much as I can. I want to be a sponge. And I think that's really what led to success for Jessiel and Emma, both coming in relatively new to the industry and just being open to learn and taking that and making sure that they're having a successful term. And that really speaks volumes to us in terms of who we keep around and who we want to continue long term with Teck. And that is the goal of co-op for us, is really a way for people to really make an impression and really set the stage for potentially a long-term career with Teck. And we see a lot of that. We see a lot of our co-ops flip into full-time permanent employees, which is great.
I've got a couple questions about sort of software role. And I know, so just so people know, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a campus coffee specifically on on software roles. We call it sustainable coding. And we actually will have some programmers, and we'll actually have Lucy, one of our software co-op students, so she can provide more detail if you're available for that one. But for now, Shavese has asked a bit about, you know, what a software intern role at or life would be like at Teck.
Oh boy, that's a heavy one. Yeah. So I guess it depends, really. There's a few different areas that we hire software engineers. And we certainly have them within the operational side of things, and then we also have them in our race team. So it depends where you sit. A lot of times the software engineers at the operational side will be working really closely with one of the technical teams. So whether you're maybe supporting some maintenance projects that are rolling out some new technologies, maintenance is our biggest spend by far across the business. You can imagine, like, some of those haul trucks are worth at least $6 million a pop. So you can imagine there's a big impact, let's just say, and there's a lot of technology projects. I mean, not the least of which would be something like autonomous haul trucks that we're piloting right now across the business, whether at the coal business unit as well as our copper business unit. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that you could work in the maintenance space, you could be supporting some of our automation projects from the processing plants, and working with engineers in those specific areas. And then there's also the mining engineering space as well. They're introducing lots of different technologies around tracking production of some of our pits, that sort of thing. So it depends where you are. Or you might be on the race side, which again, just a little bit more of an arm's length from the actual day-to-day operations, but then supporting some of our, big data is the big part of it now. I mean, that's such a big task for us, truthfully, is managing. We've got sensors on every piece of equipment, and managing the amount of data that's coming off those sensors and making sense of it so we can make educated decisions based on that data coming back. That's where we tend to utilize a lot of our software engineering within those different disciplines. Anything to add to that, Masaki? I feel like I went on a bit of a rant there.
One last question, and it's about sort of remote positions. So yeah, Ankit's asking about our positions remote, and then we have another position specifically about, I guess it was computer science positions. Are they remote?
Yeah, we've moved a little bit away from remote. I never say never. We do have some remote options. We also have a flexible work schedule in some of our spaces as well, depending, especially from the technology groups, where you can work a couple of days from home and a few days in the office. Some of the teams work a little bit more remotely than that, but to get 100% remote in another city, that's not been happening as much. So more often than not, you have to be close up to the town or the operations or the office to be able to have that team dynamic and that collaboration with your team and learning from your colleagues. And we've been finding this hybrid approach that we've been taking since COVID, or since regulations have been released from COVID. COVID's not over yet, I don't think. But but yeah, this hybrid approach that we've had has been really great, because it's a nice balance of some office time, team building, and learning from people around you. Because there's a lot of, I found through the pandemic, that when we were all working remote, that it became very transactional how you worked with your colleagues, and you didn't get that sort of water cooler chat, if you will, about like just random things where you're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that, or this is what I'm dealing with today. And so, the hybrid approach has really worked well for us, and that's what we tend to lean towards right now. So I won't never say never, but the bulk of our stuff needs to be have sort of an arm's length from the office at least.
In the meantime, maybe we should talk a little bit about recruitment, and before we jump into this.
Sure. Yeah. So I sort of mentioned earlier, just lightly, that we are currently recruiting for the September co-op term. So you'll see postings on the Teck website right now. So teck.com/careers or /student, whichever direction you want to go in. And you'll see quite a multitude of opportunities. So basically everything we've talked about today. So mining, mechanical, process, chemical, software. There's several different software opportunities and computer engineering opportunities. So there's opportunities within the networking space. Data analytics is a big one right now. I think there's some in the value delivery side of things. So again, maybe looking for either computer engineer, computer science. So take a look through those, in addition to geology and geotechnical engineering. So basically the whole gamut. I'm sure I'm forgetting something right now. Oh, and Enviro as well. And so there's lots of different opportunities. We're still nailing down the final number at this point, but we're anticipating at least 50 to 60 across the business. That's everybody at least, if not more. So I'm just waiting for my final numbers and final approvals, but we're hoping to start recruitment and interviews and reaching out to people by next week. And so you can anticipate, if you're shortlisted, then we will reach out and then start the process that way. We keep it pretty light through the process, again, trying to get people the opportunity to get their best foot forward, but just make sure you get your name in the hat. So make sure you put your application in.
All right, but just before we switch to the questions again, one last thing I want to mention is, we really appreciate you participating in Campus Coffee. We want to produce other campus coffees that are specific to your interests and needs, and so we have a survey that will be pasted in the chat shortly, and so we encourage you to fill out that survey so that we continue to provide value. Now, the next question on the list here is, what's the minimum, CGPA for business administration students for co-op? And maybe you can talk in general about grades.
Yeah. So I guess a quick answer to that is that it's not a deal breaker for us. We don't have like a set GPA and that everybody else gets eliminated afterward. We look at sort of the whole package, if you will. So, Emma had highlighted that, Jesse had highlighted as well. It's that piece of your ability to fit in with the team, all that. Obviously, we're making sure you're not failing courses and you're actually going to get through university. Those do impact a little bit. I might look at a course or two to be like, oh, okay, yeah, they do have some, strong skill sets in this particular area. But honestly, the grades are not a deal breaker. It's more about the overall package of what you're bringing to the table as a student.
Do we hire PhD co-op students?
We have. We've hired a few. The opportunities that are, I guess it depends what the PhD, like what the student is actually looking for and what they're hoping to get out of the experience. We do have a couple of research facilities, and if the person's looking to really go that research route and looking at avenue outside that academic world, then there's some opportunities there for sure. We've also hired, we have some really specific roles within like geosciences, say, for example, or in environment even, where we've needed someone with to be able to sort of supplement some of the research that we're doing there. And so sometimes PhDs in certain areas that are applicable would be looked at. So I guess the short answer would be yes, we do have some opportunities. Depends what the person's looking for. They really want a hands-on job. That's the bulk of our opportunities are going to be hands-on working with operations. So depends what the student's looking for.
Rima is a civil student, master's, or just finished her master's, I guess.
Okay.
And has taken a couple courses, but she's no longer a full-time student. Is she still eligible to apply for co-op positions?
We generally stick to co-op programs or people who are under still returning back to full-time studies. We have gone outside that bubble on a couple of times on occasion, usually with an exception. So if we need some specialized experience and someone's a really good fit, and then they're open to that commitment to make to the company. The biggest challenge with graduates is that we don't want to get burned as a company. We put a lot of value on our co-ops as an opportunity for a student to really build their experience with us. And sometimes with graduates, it's tough for us to like, first of all, we don't want someone to jump ship partway through their co-op and have no real commitment, I guess, to the opportunity. So it really does vary. It has to be in special circumstances. Generally, it's someone who's returning to full-time studies.
Perfect. Now, before I go to the next question, just recognize time-wise, just want to say, well, so we're at time. We'll stick around for a little bit, but thank you for those who have to jump off for joining us. Hopefully, you'll be interested in joining a future campus coffees. Next week, we're on talking about process control systems. The following week is sustainable coding. And so, yeah, hopefully you got some interest. Plus, we also have recordings of all previous Campus Coffee on our website at teck.com/campuscoffee. So feel free to check those out if you have specific questions that about certain disciplines. All right. Next question was 4-month positions for fall for chemical engineering co-op students.
I'm going to pull the politician card again. So I never say never. So generally, like I mentioned earlier, our co-op positions are longer in term. So 8 months, 12 months, 16 is what the business generally relies on. And only because it's a bit of a learning curve for sure. And Emma and Jesse, I'm sure could speak to that, is that it takes a little bit of time to get your head around all these different aspects of the business. It's quite complicated. And so we tend to move away from 4 months. But that being said, I'll never shut the door on 4 months completely, because you never know when we might have, if someone's the best fit for the role and the hiring manager maybe has a short-term project that can be slammed out in 4 months, say, for example, then maybe we would look at that. So they're rare, but I never say never.
Great. So a couple questions about applications from computer science related. So, what makes an attractive resume, and what is the sort of recruitment process for new grads?
For new grads, okay, so new graduates, so a slightly different process, although we kind of all follow similar-ish. For new graduate, I would say you would first get reached out to do like a sort of a pre-screen, what we call, so maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes with the recruiter and with a hiring manager. This will give you some insights about the role and just get a general idea of sort of a quick chat, I guess, about what you're looking for and what we can offer, and make sure we're all on an even playing field. And then if you're shortlisted further from there, so usually it's like 5, maybe 5, 6 people max would be in that pre-screen level. So once we shortlist from the big group, 5 or 6 will get sort of pre-screen calls or video calls. And then we'd move to that second interview, which will be a little bit longer, hour to hour and a half, depending on the role and depending if it's like going to be expecting someone to travel to the operations. We're doing a little bit more of the in-person interviews now, but still doing quite a bit of video. And then that's going to be with a hiring manager, potentially someone from the team, and a recruiter as well. And again, that's just a great conversation for you to have an opportunity to ask questions about the role, about the business, and then make sure your values and your priorities in terms of what you want to get the experience are aligning with what the hiring team is looking for. So that's where you really have that great opportunity to have a really great chat to learn about some of the cool stuff that's happening at Teck.
As a co-op student question, do we check only applications on our online platform or website, or from Place Pro as well? I guess Place Pro or Orbis are the school.
Yeah, it's a school one. Yeah, we generally just drive the applications from the school. So say for Place Pro, for example, you might have to apply through Place Pro, so that the school is aware of your application, and then also you'll have to apply through Teck. So yeah, we do manage our applications within our own system. So you will be asked to apply through the Teck one, just because for us, it's hard to manage a few different areas where resumes are coming in different directions. So we just basically highlight for the other schools to like make sure your students do apply through the Teck website and then drive their application that way.
Yeah. And next question is about, I think we're almost out of questions here. So that's good. We've worked our way through here. Yeah. New grads. As a new grad, can we only apply to jobs that specifically contain new graduates in the posting? No
problem at all. We don't always put that in our posting. So I would suggest looking at a few of the postings or ones that are of interest for you. So say if you set yourself up for job alerts for, mechanical engineering, for example, and then every post that comes up, you can look at the requirements then and see, are they looking for 1 to 3 years experience, 3 to 5? If you're close to meeting those requirements, I would say throw it in there, because you never know, it might change throughout the process of like, oh, I have this 2-year person that doesn't have any relevant experience to mining, or I have someone who's coming in with 12 months of mining experience. maybe that's our person, right? So I would say don't hold back in applying if you feel you're qualified for the role or close to being qualified. A lot of times you're never are likely not going to meet 100% of those job requirements. So certainly keep that in mind, that you're not expected to meet 100%, but as long as you have the bulk of them, I would suggest putting your application in.
John is asking specifically about what kind of experience are we looking for in a co-op computer science student. And so, John, first of all, I'd suggest that 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a session on sustainable coding, and you'll get a lot more details there from some of our programmers. But yeah, feel free to tackle this one, Stace.
Yeah, it is a big one because we have such a variety of roles. So it could be anything from desktop support, which is, our team, which we need with computer science background, but then we want someone with like the customer service side because you're working with so many different disciplines and departments across the business, but you need to provide that service to the group. So you're set up as a service to them. Whereas, you might be, if you have some coding experience, then we could use a computer science in some of the other programming roles. So it really is a bit of a mixed bag. It would be hard for me to say exactly this or exactly that. It kind of depends on what experience you have and what you're looking to explore.
All right, I think we have managed to get through all the questions. Maybe last call for questions. Otherwise, we can call it a day. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Jessiel, for joining and contributing.
Yeah, no problem. I always like the campus coffees.
Yeah, you've helped us with a couple. And participate in the background,
Yeah.
a couple too. So
I'm coming to I registered for the next one, the software one too. So you'll see me again.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, Emma.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. We're happy to help. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask us anything about our roles or where we're working, the environment.
Awesome.
So
thanks, Emma.
one last question's come in here. Can international students apply?
Like I can't sponsor students to get their work visa here. So as long as we hire lots of international students, as long as they're legally entitled to work in Canada.
Yeah, so those are basically any student in a co-op program will get the co-op work permit. So that's your easiest route. Oh, another question's popped in here. All right, don't have work experience in computer science. Is it okay to put my academic projects on a resume?
For sure.
Which kind of programs are we interested in?
Oh boy, it gets to be very team specific. I find like there's some teams that prefer so from the programming side of things, some teams really heavy on Python, then some other teams are looking for experience in like SQL. It's I guess my politician's answer again. It's a bit of a mixed bag, and it really depends on the team and what they're working on in current projects. And a lot of times, if you have some coding experience, say for example, that's the direction you want to go in. You have one language, you could learn another language. And so the team is there to support you to learn anything new. So we don't have anything like deal breakers where we're like, okay, they don't have any experience in this, but they know this language, like hard no, like that's not how we roll. So we understand that co-op is there to support people in learning. And so long as you meet the skill sets, we can support you and help you learn the rest.
Yeah, and just to touch on this or to add to this is our technology and innovation division now is 800 plus people. So you can imagine how massive this teams are and how diverse and the different locations. And so that's the other reason why it's not a one program or one, kind of fit all.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you again. Hopefully you learned something about Teck. Hopefully a little more interested. And if so, yeah, we've got postings up already. So feel free to apply away. And for all the students who talked about, programming and those questions is great. Really appreciate that. And we'll have more answers for you in the next couple of weeks as well.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining.
All right, take care, everybody.